welcoming you back to the desk of Caddicarus. Join us as we partake into a new installment of Current Quickies.
Hello, my duckies, and this time we'll be having a look at Mighty Number 9 on PS4. Q. This game is one of the most fucking mixed games I've played in a very long time, so much so that when I came to script this video, I ended up just putting one thing that was good, and then one thing that can fuck right off right next to each other, so it's gonna be a pretty back and forth kind of review, this one, yeah. I was that mixed about this one. So, let's go into a little bit more detail, shall we? Sorry for the messy script.
I think I'm gonna have to preface this entire video by saying this first. No, I'm not a die-hard Mega Man fan, and no, I did not back this game on Kickstarter. I honestly had no interest to. As far as Mega Man experiences go, I've played through 1, 2, and 3, but that's honestly it. So to see this revitalization of classic NES Mega Man gameplay with a new IP slipped under my radar, but holy shit, if lots of you who are fans of Mega Man and back this game were disappointed by the huge step down in quality for visuals, art style, and level design, then I guess you could only imagine how fucking underwhelmed I was as someone who had no nostalgic connection to the gameplay style, who wasn't interested in a game that originally looked like this, only to then buy the game to get something that looked like fucking this. I'm disappointed and I wasn't even fucking interested in it. After raising over $4 million to his campaign with constant delays, changes in everything, another Kickstarter for a totally different thing going on at the same time before the game was even finished, and everything considered, does Mighty Number 9 manage to pull it out of the bag? Well, to put it lightly, no. But did I think it was all entirely gloom and doom? Honestly, no. I believe a good game exists in here somewhere, so with all of this weird back and forth analysis, hopefully you'll see where I'm coming from with this. The game itself controls fantastically as far as I'm concerned, and I love the wetting feeling of Beck as you run, jump, shoot, and dash. But it fucking sucks how simplistic it is, with absolutely nothing new being brought to the table apart from absorbing. Animations from Beck and the enemies all look fluent and stretchy, yet the overall presentation is muddy, and explosion and destruction effects look like complete garbage, all apart from the battle coliseum, which looks pretty awesome. Luckily, I suffered no bugs at all on PS4, but the frame rate for some reason in one stage would chug for no reason at all. And why the fuck do characters and cutscenes never move or lip sync when games have been doing that since before the fucking PS1 era? Even character art sprites with VO would have been way better than this shit. And speaking of that, why is the story so simple yet so bland and forgettable, with no redeeming qualities about it at all, with no interesting characters, no good voice acting, with no satisfying conclusion? It literally does feel cobbled together to a point where I ended up skipping every damn cutscene. And when I'm in a particularly tricky part of the game, I'd appreciate not being constantly interrupted by the shitty characters to make me lose my concentration, distract my pattern reading, and make me not hear vital sound cues. And when the game even tries to make lame puns, it can't even do that right since they don't make any sense. Some of the dialogue is delivered pathetically and written even more desperately to appeal to extremely young people, which makes no sense at all since many young kids may find this game too hard. Basically, the story and writing is a mess. As far as gameplay itself goes, I have to say I love the dash mechanic and the way it's implemented into the standard running and gunning. It makes it more interesting, more strategic, faster to kill enemies, and remembering how long it takes to get enemies weakened only to then fly into them and absorb a particular short-time power-up, such as super speed, high defense, and high power wall clipping shots, is satisfying on a heavenly level. And it also makes everything just feel faster and more flowing, especially when you can use it to save you from bottomless pits. Look at some of these paths and can be fucking badass. But equally, when you receive the special suit ability from each boss battle ripped straight out of Mega Man, I barely use them at all, or at the very least pale in comparison to the simplicity, unlimited nature, and instant gratification of the standard shooter. The rewards you get for stringing dash combos together, like extra lives and health refills, are a fantastic incentive to play a little bit more aggressively, but the slow and clunky nature they're implemented through menus and the fucking horrifically awkward way you have to cycle through robot suits and then press another button to switch between them when there could have been plenty of other quick select options on the controller ruins how satisfying they are at all to use as much as they are to get. The level design itself I actually kind of liked, very old school and to the point, yet some of the stages, along with looking ugly, are also a huge chore to get through because of how empty and boxy they can be. And even though the game wants you to go fast, some stages throw insta-kill curveballs at you for no fucking reason, meaning it becomes more of a game of memory more than speedy reflexes. The difficulty and challenge I thought was really refreshing, and I thought it struck a good balance between overly challenging and overly forgiving with how some enemies behave and attack, and how some platforming challenge has been built around timing and even hanging rather than just jumping around everywhere. But equally, there is a lot of bullshit, such as one particular stage in which you have to crouch dash in one of the only instances you ever need to use it. And if you are literally one pixel out, it's an instant kill. And of course, there's nostalgic gameplay, but there's also dated bullshit, knocked back over countless insta-kill traps being a particular gripe of mine, which I wouldn't mind too much, but they're usually placed in areas that make no logical sense and exist purely for the sake of cheap difficulty, not for the sense of logical level design or a cohesive world. And even in this part, your hang doesn't even work here. That's just fucking horseshit. And what about the inconsistencies with enemies not being able to blow up the same things as you? I mean, it does help occasionally, but more often than not, it would save your ass and make the levels a little bit more interesting to see how enemies can use weapons against themselves. In my opinion, though, when it comes to bosses, I actually really loved all of them. Every Mighty Number boss fight I found dynamic and unique, and are all definitely the best bit of the game, with awesome attack styles, totally different methods of approach, the inclusion of needing to dash into them at certain points or else they regenerate health to add a lovely layer of tension, weaknesses to other suits that you may have won, and speaking of that, the replayability is pretty high since other Mighty Numbers that you defeat earlier can come into certain stages and make them easier for you. An awesome little feature along with the weaknesses to attack other bosses. And the final boss I actually found fucking awesome. Really difficult yet fair and a total pain in the ass to nail, but when you do, it's a fantastic feeling, and any insta-kill attacks are given so much wind up and queue for you to dodge, I found it all good, honestly. Saying all of that though, the other modes are so checklisted and uninspired. The main campaign on one playthrough with lots of deaths and retries for me was shorter than the fucking credits. Real rewards are more for the speedrunner crowds looking for the higher scores than more casual players, and online don't even get me started. You know something, I would say overall that a little more of me dislikes this game more than likes it, and I was willing to rate it a 5 actually, but with everything considered during this game's production alongside how much I paid for it, I don't feel like I can rate it that high at all. It's just not worth it in my opinion. At least wait until it's a lot cheaper. Even the additional Ray content with the extra level, boss, and playable character with a badass and difficult gameplay style only needed to be quick or else die is great, but not worth the asking price. In many ways, Mighty Number 9 just feels like a fan attempt to keep Mega Man alive through another shell. tell, and I suppose that for an indie project it's not absolutely terrible. There's a lot more mechanically bad and graphically awful games to play out there. But when you consider the budget that this game had along with the decent team working, and it only for you to see Ukulele made for a lot less money and fucking Dust who was made entirely by one fucking person apart from the voiceover story and soundtrack, you can clearly see why people are so angry. And if circumstances were a lot different, including its retail price, I'd probably rate this game a little bit higher, but as it is, no. For the game's history and how much I paid for it and the fact that online doesn't even fucking work, it's slightly embarrassing. But hey, I don't entirely not recommend it. Just wait for a huge fucking price drop first if you didn't get this game as a Kickstarter reward.
And so I'm gonna give this game a 4 out of fucking 10. It really isn't the worst game I've ever played in my life, but honestly, if you back this, I feel sorry for you. Because it's a massive disappointment. Phew.